Okay, so question 2 and 3. Remember the technique of how we answer questions 2 and 3. What we do is, because the question is discuss, that means state your knowledge, be specific about every line. Okay? Use every line in the scenario and then go through the scenario line by line, and that's it. Knowledge, scenario, knowledge, scenario. Now, sometimes you can do the knowledge all at once and then do the scenario later, or you could do it as you go along. Completely up to you. Okay, right, so sometimes it's not clear what the question's about. You know, is it about intangible assets? Is it about financial instruments, whatever? But what my word of advice is, always look at the bottom line first. And here it says, look, the directors require advice on what are the functional currencies. So that's the question. What are the functional currencies? So because you know what the question is all about, you now know what the knowledge is all about. So I would now go straight in to the knowledge. Okay, and I would say, right, my knowledge of functional currencies is that you have primary and that you have secondary factors that help you determine this. You would say primary is basically all about what is your primary economic environment. Remember, if you're not too sure about this, it's all in a previous video. Okay, and you'd say the things are, it's the currency. I'll just put a sign there for currency. It's the currency which mainly influences sales prices. It's the currency that mainly influences your labour, your materials, your production costs. It's the currency of the country whose regulations affect the sales price. It's the currency of the country whose competitive forces, where your competition are, affect the selling price. They're all the things that you look for. Now, sometimes though you're going to need secondary ones. Secondary ones are, it's the currency which you finance yourselves in. It depends how autonomous you are. And the autonomous, you look at the number of transactions with your parent company, with other people in the company, and what you also look at is do you have the cash to meet your own debt obligations? Now that's all knowledge. Now, how many marks was this question? 9 marks. Okay, so I don't want to go over the top. This is going to be worth maybe 4 or 5 marks, all right? So if you get the knowledge bit right in this question, you probably passed already, or you're pretty close to passing anyway. There might be slightly less, but don't spend too long on it. Right, and now we're just going to go through the scenario. And remember, it wants it on all these 3 different companies. So, here we go then. Suntory, which is one we'll do first, is a country which has a currency of the dollar. And that's the main company. And that's all I really need to read about Suntory. And it says, right, Suntory sales are in its own jurisdiction. And they're priced and collected in dollars. So you would say, okay, then it seems to be that it's dollars which influences the sales price. It's dollars which are which is the setting of the sales price. Legal requirements, so the regulations and the business environment, the competitive forces, also in their jurisdiction, determine the pricing. So all the regulations, all the competitive forces, all seem to be in their country. Goods and services, so the prices of the local things are sourced locally and paid in dollars. So you say, so all of this makes it look like the functional currency is dollars. Then it says occasionally the entity trades in in small amounts in other currencies, and use that line. And don't just ignore it. Use it and say, well, that would make you think that maybe the functional currency is another one, but it's only a small amount, so it's immaterial. And we don't need to look at any secondary factors here. It looks like Sundari is dollars. Now, let's move on to Mayo. So let's have a read of Mayo then. Mayo is based in Japan, so yen. And it also says Mayo are financed by long-term loans in dollars. So you could put that in straight away. You could say, well, one of the secondary factors is how are you financed? And we're financed here by dollars. So if you're financed by dollars, then that is an indicator that it's dollars. However, that's not a primary one. Let's have a look. Hopefully this tells us it's primary. They conduct their business with significant autonomy. So if they're autonomous from Suntory, then that would make us feel that actually then their functional currency is their own, the yen. It manufactures golf equipment, which it sells mainly in Japan in yen. So the effect on the sales price, the primary economic environment, yen. Local management determine the prices, autonomy, based upon local, legal and business regulations. So you say, right, primary again. It seems to be the yen that influences sales price. The yen that influences that. It's Japan that has the regulations and the competitive forces. All the primary indicators are telling us that yen is the functional currency. There is that secondary one, that we're financed by the parent company, and you'd write all this in. Most raw materials are sourced from local suppliers, with a small amount sourced from China. Again, mention that. We'll say, yeah, but most seems to be yen. They sell a small amount of golf clothing, which it buys and pays for in dollars. Again, mention that it's not significant though, and it would seem to be that yen is their functional currency. Okay, while I take time choosing that. Minor then. So minor is also financed by long-term loans, so secondary factor again. Let's have a look at their primary ones. They import golf stuff from Suntory and they pay in dollars. So a lot of their prices will be based upon dollars, won't it? The exchange rate in dollars, so will be influenced here by dollars. So that looks like now minor, particularly as they're financed in dollars as well. Looks like their functional currency might well be dollars. All other operating expenses, though, are paid in euros. So, if you go down here, we'd say, well, maybe that one there makes you think dollars, but this one here makes you think euros. So you say, well, it's not clear then at the moment. The holding company gives them a discount on the selling price of its products. So that will be the currency then that is influencing their sales price. And remember, we're going through every line and you're writing every one of these lines down. So again, it makes it look like dollars. Minor sells its products mainly in Portugal in euros. So the price, even though it's affected, even though it's influenced by dollars, it's set in euros. But I think at the moment, maybe still we're saying, yeah, but it's influenced too much by dollars. The local legal and business conditions, so we're talking about the regulations, we're talking about the competitive forces, and the cost of the product, production costs, all these primary factors from Suntory and the cost dictate the pricing of products. So all of that euros. However, they have to be agreed by Suntory. So I don't know that, but that makes it seem more like euros. At the month end, an intergroup dividend is paid in cash to Suntory in euros. So we pay all our money over in euros, which amounts to the net profit made by us for the month. So we pay all our money over, which means we don't have any money left, which means we need financing, and that financing comes from dollars. So at the end of that, you might think, I have no idea which one is it, because you seem to be telling me both. And that's fine. Just say the determination of the currency is not clear-cut. If I had to really guess one, I would probably say dollars, because it's fine. And the secondary factors, it's not very autonomous. So I think that maybe the secondary factors push you a little bit more to dollars. But up to you. But the point I'm trying to make is, look at all this what I've highlighted. Everything I've highlighted, and that's because I'm using every line in the scenario. I'm using the line, and I'm applying the knowledge, and I'm saying this makes me think that. Use the line, apply the knowledge, this makes me think that. And it doesn't matter. I could come to the completely different conclusion to the examiner. It wouldn't matter. The examiner would say, perfect. What you've done is you've used my scenario, you've used your knowledge. I don't agree with you, but anyway, here's the marks. Okay? You might not get completely full marks, but you get a good 80-90%, trust me. Use the scenario, use your knowledge, apply it, and you'll get there.